Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Was Born in the Uzumaki clan, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
1 week later, the Uzumaki now stood on the borders of the nation called Omegakure. Infamously known as the country forever plagued by rain, Omegakure was so far holding true to its legacy of mystery and uniqueness. At least to Naruto. Currently seated atop Akino's largest vulture summon, the shinobi carefully observed the small town beneath them. Nagato was beside him as well as Akino, with the nervous Uzumaki children huddled behind them. Their fates now solely in the hands of the last 3 soldiers of Uzu. Nagato observed his leader closing his eyes for a second and saw the slight frown visible on Naruto's face. "What is it?" asked Akino, as she saw even Nagato starting to concentrate. Unlike the boys, she was not that good at sensing from such a distance. She was further irritated when both boys shared a grim nod. They were still not answering her question, which was making her nervous. "It seems I underestimated this nation," admitted Naruto bitterly. "This is the nearest border town, yet there are several squads of strong shinobi here. Not to mention," said Nagato mysteriously. "I don't understand. Since when does a border town start getting this heavy force for protection?" asked Akino confusedly. She saw Naruto's gaze fixated on the small patch of mountains that were a few kilometers away from the town. Akino couldn't see or feel anything in that place, yet Naruto's entire attention was fixed there, which must mean something. "Guess our bad luck never ends. Nagato, prepare for battle," instructed Naruto, making his friends tense. "Are you sure?" asked Nagato hesitantly, even as his hands etched towards his tanto. "We've already been detected. Running now will only complicate things, not to mention destroy any chance of us ever finding a place in Am. We have to fight," insisted Naruto. "Can somebody tell me what the hell is going?" hissed Akino. She couldn't say it out loud, but Akino was scared. There were only a handful times when she had seen that look on Naruto's face, and every memory had been dreadful. First when Uzu fell, and then Kisame, and now. "I don't have time to explain right now, Akino. I want you to remain here and protect the children. Under no circumstances are you to intervene," said Naruto icily, and raised his hand when she opened her mouth to protest. "I am the team leader and you will obey my order. If not for anything else, then at least trust me for their sake," requested Naruto and pointed towards the worried children who were holding onto each other. That worked as Akino's defiance dimmed considerably. She stepped forward and engulfed both her friends in a warm hug. "Be careful," whispered Akino, earning small smiles from the boys. Once they parted, Nagato and Naruto stepped towards the edge. Akino saw Nagato look towards his leader, who understood his obvious problem. All of them were at least a few thousand feet in the air, and taking the bird down was not an option. "Hold on to me, Nagato," said Naruto cheekily, and gripped his friend's hand. "Why do I get the feeling I won't like THI?" Akino and the Uzumaki children gasped in surprise and awe when both boys transformed into thick dark smoke. Amidst the dark night and the shining moon in the sky, this was a sight to behold. The smoke hastily circled around the bird one last time as if to confirm their safety, before descending towards the ground at breathtaking speed. She had never seen something like this. It was clear that it was similar to Shunshin. Naruto was quite secretive when it came to his dark powers. It was a given that he was stronger than her and Nagato. But to think he could perform a Shunshin at such height and distance along with the passenger. Although she couldn't help but smirk on imagining Nagato's reaction to this little joy ride. Nagato gracelessly sprawled across the wet ground and not a moment later vomited the contents of his stomach on the muddy piece of land. He glared at the boy beside him, who was watching this humiliation with a bemused smile on his face. "What the fuck was that?" asked Nagato with little coughs. "Tell you what, if we survive this I may just tell you all about this technique," hinted Naruto. "If," hissed Nagato, earning a small chuckle from his crazy best friend. "Watch my back, Nagato," said Naruto calmly, as the other boy came up behind him. "As if I have a choice," mumbled Nagato, but took out his weapon regardless and started scanning his surroundings. He realized that Naruto had transported them right into the town, but instead of being met with the faces of terrified civilians, they were greeted with a bizarre sight. The entire town was deserted, no sign of life existed, yet Nagato could feel the faint sources of energy loitering in the shadows. I count 90, said Naruto challengingly. What do we do about the ones present on the mountain? Asked Nagato seriously. If my guess is right, then we have to reach them. If we are to become a part of AM, then we need to do it legally with the permission of its ruler. Sneaking into the country like spies and hiding won't work for long, whispered Naruto, making Nagato double back in shock. You purposefully brought us here? Asked Nagato in shock. Naruto had the grace to look a little ashamed as he lowered his head. Nagato felt a silent rage build inside of him. While he trusted Naruto with his life, his friend's secretive nature and habit of concealing nearly everything even from his best friends was getting on Nagato's nerves. This isn't a town, is it? Said Nagato tiredly. No, it is a frontier of AM. Home to a small garrison force. I had received information that Hanzo was inspecting such frontiers that AM shares with Konoha and Suna, now that war is inevitable between the two great villages, confessed Naruto hesitantly. Nagato's head snapped towards the mountains as a horrible feeling started developing in his gut. This wasn't some accidental encounter, but a planned battle his friend had chosen that against Hanzo and his men. If we survive this, Naruto, then we're gonna have more than a few words, promised Nagato murderously, as he took up position behind Naruto. Meanwhile, Naruto was grateful that his friend hadn't asked as to where he got such information. Kisame had insisted that the information was correct, and Hanzo would never allow the Uzumaki to become a part of his village unless he saw firsthand their power in battle as well as their skills in different ninja arts. It was this reason that Naruto had came here alongside Nagato. His friend was skilled at ninjutsu and fuinjutsu and was a capable warrior. Hanzo must have already sensed Akino's summon in the air. And she was a medic, he couldn't afford to risk her life so recklessly. Nor could he trust her not to throw a rage fit on learning the truth behind this encounter. In that matter, Nagato was at least mature enough to hold his temper for now and focus on the more important task. Naruto knew this was a great risk, and if things went wrong then he would make sure Nagato and his people escaped safely. But deep down in his heart, he knew this was the only way. If he had explained this feeling to his friends, then he doubted they would have even believed him, much less come here. But Naruto was already running out of options. And in his mind, this was the only way. He would deal with the consequences later. As the figures emerged from the shadows, Nagato shuddered, not because of the sheer number of ninjas surrounding them but from something sinister being born. Looking back, he choked back a gasp on seeing something that would terrorize him for several nights. Waves upon waves of pure dark chakra was floating around Naruto like flames emerging from fire. A lengthy dark cloak made up of that sinister energy was covering Naruto's back. But the thing that scared Nagato were those eyes. For Naruto's one pure blue-colored eyes were now blood red and slit in shape, giving him the appearance of a humanoid fox-like creature. Dark whisker marks covered the cheeks of his friend as the boy's teeth started turning more sharper in shape, just like those of a fox. The feeling of misery, death, murder and most of all pain and sadness weighed on all of them. Is this the power of the dark side? Thought Nagato fearfully, as Naruto pointed his finger towards the now shivering AM ninjas. I'll try not to kill you. In the faraway mountains, a few miles away from the border town of AM, stood two people. Their eyes observing the decisive battle about to take place in their homeland. It was a historic moment for them, as it could probably mark AM's entry into the Third Great Ninja War. Yet this upcoming battle was extremely crucial for AM's survival. One of the people was a tall bald man. He was wearing a traditional grey-colored samurai armor and a fine sword was strapped to his waist. He was fair in complexion and had a wavy mustache. There was a deep scar running from his left eye to the center of the cheek. His dark orbs were momentarily widened as the surge of sinister energy washed across him. Beside him stood a tall young woman. She was wearing a short skirt and light blue-colored t-shirt which was covered by a dark black-colored armor with the symbol of a mysterious clan no one in AM had a clue about except for its leader. The woman had long, beautiful blonde hair that reached deep up to her waist. Her silvery eyes were also fixed on the town as a small smirk arrived on her face. Interesting, whispered the woman. The force is unbelievably strong in this child, said the bald man, making the woman frown a little. Mifune, how many times must I tell you that it is called chakra? You samurai never learn, do you? Asked the woman irritatedly, as the man named Mifune faintly smiled. Come now, Galatea. What difference the terms make when the meaning is the same? Humans should respect each other and their cultures, advised Mifune. Fine. But you owe me an explanation as to where you got the information that such shady people were going to infiltrate our nation, said Galatea flatly, and sighed when Mifune remained stoic. The samurai was a little worried when he saw the slight fear in his partner's eyes. Galatea was one of the best senses in the entire world, apart from that she also had a unique power that only her apprentice had mastered to an extent. He knew if Galatea truly wanted to stop this battle, then there was nothing anybody could do to stop her. But there were much more larger games at play, and the fact that even Galatea seemed a little shaken went to show that their opponent was truly a dangerous one. Galatea. Mifune froze. The hoarse voice still managed to make him tremble sometimes. The sound of footsteps were heard behind them and both warriors turned around only to bow before the man in front of them. Salamander Hanzo. The revolutionary leader stood before them. Wearing nothing but plain blue pants and a grey-colored shirt, covered by a small flak jacket and with a dark blue cloak floating behind him, it was hard to imagine that the leader of Am had such modest tastes. Hanzo's face was covered by a breathing mask, his long dirty blonde hair were flowing in the air as his hard dark eyes observed his top commanders. Mifune still felt grateful for having found such a visionary leader. Hanzo not only reformed the crumbling Am but also presented a path to peace for the tired samurai. His people had not easily yielded to Hanzo, and only after a bloody war did the samurai ally themselves with Hanzo only because of the vision this man had. A true peaceful world. The fact that Hanzo forbid his ninjas from ever taking assassination or murder missions, and only restricted his warriors to undertaking the jobs of protecting merchants, villages from bandits, and other noble jobs. It surely reduced Am's income, but the samurai were more than ready to make up for the losses by supplying this nation with their resources and monetary power. It was a long-standing myth in the ninja world that Am had annexed the samurai nation, wherein the truth was the complete opposite. Both nations were working together to accomplish the joint mission and would not tolerate anything or anyone disrupting it. As such, when they had received information from a mysterious source that a shady group of people would be attempting to infiltrate Am had rang alarm bells across both nations. Hanzo had decided to crush these miscreants with the intention of showing that unlike the past two great ninja wars, this time neither Am or the samurai nation would tolerate the tyranny of the great nations and its shinobi. Galatea felt Hanzo's firm gaze resting on her, waiting for answer. There are about 60 of them, mostly children. But they are staying far away from the battle. I can sense a kunoiki keeping those children safe on top of a flying creature high up in the sky, reported Galatea, her eyes still closed. What about the ones in the town? Asked Mifune seriously, even as Hanzo simply took in the information. There are 2 of them. One of them is strong, probably a Chunin-level ninja. Both are males, said Galatea hesitantly. And the other, the one whose power is radiating across our lands? Asked Hanzo seriously, making the female ninja flinch a little. I have never felt anything like this, Hanzo-sama, replied Galatea hesitantly. Speak freely, Galatea, instructed Hanzo calmly, not even affected by this monstrous power. Am's leader was the epitome picture of a collected person who was simply watching the events unfold before him with patience. The other boy is corrupted. He is too strong with the dark side of chakra. I fear he may be very skilled in using the dark arts, reported Galatea. Hanzo didn't give any reply, which made his followers look at him quizzically. A strange gleam was visible in the leader's eyes as he felt this dark aura grow stronger and stronger with every passing second. We live in interesting times, said Hanzo bemusedly. Sir? Asked Galatea, uncertain of what her leader wanted. You're right, Galatea. This ninja is strong with the dark side, but I don't feel his intent to kill or wreak havoc. It is as if he is inviting us to watch this battle, suggested Hanzo, making Mifune stared at him in shock. Then you mean? Yes, Mifune. The anonymous tip sent to you was no coincidence. There are several different ways to get inside our lands without any notice, but these people chose to confront us. Either they are stupid or have a plan. I have a feeling as to who these people could be, said Hanzo pointedly. Who? Asked Galatea curiously, and saw her leader's gaze harden. The Uzumaki. Mifune and Galatea looked at each other in shock. Neither of them were aware of this fact. Yet as they looked at their leader, the knowing look in his veteran eyes was enough to show that Hanzo knew more than he was letting on. It was a fact that Hanzo had traveled a lot across the world before returning to his nation to bring forward a revolution. There were so many things this man had seen, done and experienced that were far too difficult for any of his followers to understand. What do you intend to do about them, Hanzo-sama? Asked Mifune briefly. It seems the rumors about this clan's strength were not false after all, if they have such a dangerous ninja in their ranks, said Hanzo honestly. Hanzo-sama, then, said Galatea hopefully, a small smile arriving on her face, but it was soon squashed as a harsh look appeared in her leader's eyes. There must be something extraordinary about these people and this boy if they managed to survive so many hardships. If these people manage to get past my best soldiers and reach towards this mountain, then I will at least acknowledge their valor and agree to hear their request on equal ground, informed Hanzo. But if they can't even reach here without my mercy or without overcoming my soldiers with their own powers, then they have no right to make any demands of me or this great nation. Everything will be decided if they manage to reach here or fall in battle. With those harsh words, Am's leader walked away, leaving two stunned commanders behind. Mifune, what should we do? Asked Galatea uncertainly, and saw her partner sigh. We have no choice but to follow Hanzo's will, informed Mifune. But because of this there will be unnecessary bloodshed on both sides, hinted Galatea sadly, and saw her partner stare at the town. Hanzo may be demanding these Uzumaki prove their worth for themselves and their right to survive through battle. If that's the case, then how relentless Hanzo's spirit is, he doesn't even allow his enemies to have half-hearted sense of values or victory, thought Mifune proudly, as he turned towards his worried female partner. Then we can only hope these Uzumaki quickly reach here without causing too much bloodshed. Although I doubt they can actually get past Angel, said Mifune confidently, earning a brief smile from Galatea as she thought about her apprentice. I hope so, but what if this boy manages to reach here? Asked Galatea seriously, and saw a determined look arriving in the samurai's eyes as he stared at his long sword. If that happens and they try to harm Hanzo, then we'll protect him with our lives, promised Mifune, earning a firm nod from the female beside him. Understood. Naruto relished the fearful looks the Am ninja had in their eyes. Unknown to his enemies, this fear and despair was only giving him even more power against them. The only reason Kisame had matched his power because the man had no fear in him and had more experience as a ninja. Naruto was sure that given a few years of experience, there would hardly be more than a handful ninja who could truly stand up to him as an equal. Although, he could have done without feeling Nagato's fear. He glanced at his friend with his red eyes which only made the boy flinch, but a moment later Nagato steeled himself and gave a nod. Naruto smirked. From every direction, hundreds of kunai, shuriken, exploding tags were hurled towards them. What made these incoming projectiles even more deadlier was that they were being driven by pure chakra, thereby doubling their travel speed. In response, Naruto grinned and clasped his right hand. The entire attack was destroyed as the weapons, instead of hitting their targets, struck each other and were obliterated. Even Nagato smirked on seeing the gobsmacked looks on the Am ninjas' faces. Although that smile vanished from Nagato's face when he saw Naruto snarl disappointedly. It was a known fact that Naruto was far more vengeful and destructive when his dark powers was being openly used. And watching his dangerous friend take a few steps forward only seemed to increase Nagato's worry. The next attack came very soon as Nagato spotted several umbrellas being thrown in the air. Pathetic, whispered Naruto. Before the umbrellas could even open up fully, they crumbled and turned to dust. Naruto lowered his raised hand and glared at the nervous Am ninja. The fact that his eyes were appearing demonic red didn't seem to reduce the tension at all. Is that the best you can do? Asked Naruto impatiently. A few angry snarls were heard as a group of 5 young Am ninjas charged at the dark ninja. The approaching shinobi didn't seem more than simple chunin, yet Nagato flinched on seeing the stone-cold look in Naruto's eyes. His friend didn't even care that these people were nowhere near his power. I will never forget my people's pain, said Naruto darkly, pointing his hand towards the approaching angry shinobi. Dajuryogen, dark illusions. Naruto felt himself entering the minds of these teenage warriors. He could feel their raw anger at him for invading their country and insulting them so openly. He latched himself to that anger and started planting images in these vulnerable ninjas' mind. Not a few seconds later, the rest of the Am ninja were horrified when their 5 comrades simply stopped. The 5 Am ninja knelt before Naruto and on Naruto's command pointed their swords towards their own shocked countrymen. Nagato was as stunned as the rest of the Am ninjas. What are you? Whispered a young teenage Am chunin, her eyes wide with fear. Naruto answered that question by unleashing his puppet Am ninjas on their former comrades. Nagato could only stare in horror, as the Am forces desperately tried to stop their turned comrades without outright killing them. All the while, Naruto simply stood in his spot with a disinterested look in his dark eyes. Kill them if you want, Nagato. I don't care, said Naruto carelessly. You don't mean that, replied Nagato shakily. Akeno had warned him about the repercussions of Naruto using his dark powers to this extent. But only now he could see the drastic changes this power was bringing in his friend. It was as if Naruto was becoming someone else, something else. Nagato tried to understand what was happening. He carefully watched the twisted smile on Naruto's lips, the gleam in his slit eyes as he watched the chaos he had caused. It was just for a moment, but Nagato saw it. The madness, the bloodlust, the rage, the twisted look. Nagato had read about it to be seen in one very specific beast. The Kyuubi. Kushina had been a Jinchuriki of that malicious fox, and Naruto had indirectly gained his powers from that ancient beast. It seemed that its power was not the only thing Naruto gained, but he also absorbed a small part of that hateful beast in his soul, which was brought forward only when Naruto used his powers to such an extent. Nagato's thought process was disrupted when several painful screams rang across the entire town. Nearly 40 Am ninjas were hanging in the air, men and women who didn't even appear to have completed the teenage years. They were desperately grasping at their throats. Nagato looked down and saw Naruto standing beneath these suffering people with a sick smile on his lips. Humans like you don't deserve to live, said Naruto maliciously. Nagato yelled in horror when Naruto was about to clench his fist, which would break these struggling ninjas' necks. Killing Am ninja was never their intention, but it seemed Naruto was not able to control himself. Before Nagato could intervene, the victims collapsed on the ground and started gasping for air. Even Naruto seemed surprised, and turned to look at his equally surprised friend. Nagato, what happened? Asked Naruto confusedly. The dark ninja frowned when his friend's eyes were not fixed on him, but instead at something in the sky. Turning around, the dark ninja froze in his spot. Standing high in the sky stood a ninja the likes of which he had never seen before. The very first thing he noticed were the two large yet elegant wings made of paper that allowed the kunoichi to hover above him. She was wearing the uniform of an Am ninja, but unlike most of the ninja on the ground, she was wearing a Junin vest. Naruto's breath got hitched in his throat as he looked at her face. She was extremely fair in complexion and had a sharp feminine face. Her shoulder-length straight blue hair was slowly flowing in the cold weather. The white flower in her hair only made her more beautiful. Yet what truly mesmerized Naruto was the determined look in her amber-colored eyes. The fire that burned in those eyes was intoxicating, summoning him like a moth to flame. Just one look in them was enough to show that this was a person equally strong in their beliefs and determined to go to any lengths to protect what was dear to them. Almost every Am ninja sighed in relief and started chanting the name, Angel. Even Nagato was stunned, not by the girl herself, but from the endless number of paper shuriken she had summoned in the sky. She had actually blocked the moon itself from casting its light. This ends here, warned the girl. Nagato felt two great surges of power. One of them was calm and peaceful, the other chaotic and twisted. He didn't miss the cold look in Angel's eyes or the twisted gleam in Naruto's orbs. Time seemed to have stopped for every soul in the area when the two made their move. The angel started coming down at Naruto with frightening speed along with her army of paper weapons, giving her the appearance of a mighty spear falling from the heavens. In return, Naruto transformed into thick dark smoke which instantly took the appearance of a dark human skull. And then he charged. Nagato along with every Am ninja inside the town watched in silent horror as the two ninjas rushed at each other. Words weren't enough to describe this sensation which every person felt as the thick dark smoke charged towards the approaching long spear from the sky. Just seconds before the two warriors ran into each other, the thick dark smoke transformed into Naruto quickly. Nagato shivered when he saw the crazy bloodlust in the dark red eyes of his best friend. He also saw the sheer terror the Am ninja felt as well as they tried to accept that all of this was truly happening and was not just a dream. Power! Yelled Naruto. His voice sent shivers down everyone's spine. The level of anger, hatred and bloodlust in his friend's tone made Nagato take a step back as Naruto raised his right hand and pointed his first two fingers towards the approaching gigantic spear made up of paper weapons. Karai Kaminari, Dark Lightning. Nagato continued to be surprised as violent bolts of dark purple-colored lightning started shooting from his friend's fingers. He knew Naruto could do ninjutsu, but this was the first time he had seen his friend combine that ninja art with his dark powers. And the effects were truly frightening. The Kunoichi's dangerous spear collided violently with the lightning bolts, sending sparks all over the area. A few unfortunate ninja also got hit and collapsed unconscious instantly. Panic spread on the battlefield as everyone dashed for cover. Even Nagato was not spared from the incoming attacks when he saw several deflected lightning bolts racing towards him. He reached into his pouch and threw 4 seals into different corners of the battlefield, his hands already going through a complicated series of hand seals. Fuan. A large rectangular blue-shaped barrier was created all over the battlefield, protecting him as well as the ninja from the oncoming attacks. Nagato turned towards his stunned foes who were looking at him in confusion. "Stay still and don't leave the barrier, not if you want to die," warned Nagato. "Why should we listen to you?" asked a young Chunin angrily, as Nagato simply pointed his fingers towards the maniacal laughing Naruto as he fiercely fought against Angel's relentless attack. "Fine, if you want to get slaughtered in the battle between those two, then be my guest," snapped Nagato. He smirked when the ninjas flinched openly on seeing the fierce battle. Nagato could see they had understood they were no match for Naruto, and it only made his situation worse as the frustrated ninjas turned their angry gazes on him. "Kill him," spat several of them. Nagato's eyebrows twitched, his urge to hit something skyrocketed as he spotted the stupid fools charging towards him. They were hell-bent on killing him, judging from the murderous gleam in their eyes. They didn't even understand in their anger that if he died then the barrier would collapse and their lives would be in danger. Not to mention Naruto would give them terrifying deaths if they even injured Nagato even a little. So for their sake, Nagato had to take these stupid ninjas out quickly but without causing too much damage to them. After all, their mission was to intimidate, not to kill. So much for that, thought Nagato miserably, as he saw his best friend murderously attack the Angel of One thing was surely confirmed for Nagato today, never to piss of Naruto again. With a tired sigh, he brought his tanto forward and focused his attention in order to deal with the hordes of ninjas that were about to jump on him. Naruto snarled on seeing the remaining ninjas running to kill his best friend. He felt even more furious on seeing Nagato had erected a barrier to protect those dumb fools. "Your compassion would be the death of you someday, Nagato," thought Nagato furiously. The rage in his heart only served to make him more determined to end this battle. Whoever this girl was, she was good. To handle his onslaught of dark attacks was no small feat, but Nagato's life was at risk and he would not let his friend die. With great force, Naruto pushed more of his chakra into his attack. The lightning attack tore clean through the spear made up of paper weapons, and dashed madly to strike the slightly surprised Angel. Naruto couldn't help but smirk on seeing the victory in front of him. Apart from this girl, he doubted any of the small fries below him had a snowball's chance of standing up to him. However, the smirk vanished from his lips when Angel simply twisted herself a little, making the lightning attack pass from her side. Impossible. Lightning travels faster than the speed of sound. It seems Am's not as talentless as I imagined, thought Naruto begrudgingly. As a testament to the girl's credit, Naruto couldn't feel any emotion from her at all. Neither anger, or fear, or nervousness. She just stared at him with her stoic amber eyes and it unnerved him a little. It was already taking a lot of his chakra to keep himself afloat in the air. Manipulating wind chakra constantly was not an easy task, and only his years of training in chakra control as well as average chakra reserves made this feat possible. On the other hand, this angel was simply using her paper transformation for flying. Not only did it consume less chakra, but it also granted her a little more agility and speed. She had the advantage. Guess I'll just have to overwhelm her with brute force, thought Naruto seriously, as he clasped his hands together. Kaiten, Nenshu Misairu, fire release, burning missile. Angel of watched patiently as her opponent brought forth a raging tornado of flames. But they were different from the usual fire attacks. Instead of being fiery orange in color, they were pitch black. Even the heat radiating from the flames smelled foul and corrosive. If she got hit by it, not only would they burn but make her skin crumble to ashes as well. She remained still, diverting every ounce of her attention to the approaching tornado of flames, which quickly transformed into a large missile headed straight for her head. She saw the boy grinning darkly on seeing her about to move. He was powerful, She had to give him that. But he had a great flaw. Angel was not surprised when the missile attack split into nearly 100 smaller missiles. The range of the attack increased, and despite the split of power, she knew any single attack from any missile could lead to her downfall. Instead of panicking, she closed her eyes. Just when the volley of dark missiles reached Angel, she transformed her entire body into uncountable paper shards and scattered in every direction. The attack collided with several paper shards and destroyed them completely. But the remaining ones started attacking Naruto from all sides, and the Uzumaki found himself completely surrounded in a tornado of paper shuriken, kunai that were ripping him apart. Naruto bit back a hiss as he received several more brutal cuts across his body. His blood spilled over as his skin was torn apart. He quickly clenched his fist tightly, bringing forth a defensive aura of dark chakra around his body in order to protect himself. And that was when he realized he made a bloody mistake. "It's over," said Mifune, his eyes closed as he turned around. A moment later, a monstrous blast ripped through half of the town, obliterating several small houses and shops, while sending debris in all 4 directions. Mifune started walking away, a slightly disappointed expression on his face as he witnessed the outcome of the fight. Angel could not be defeated. He had already told that. Now he had to go to Hanzo and request his leader to spare the remaining Uzumaki, since most of them were children and didn't deserve to die. He frowned when his fellow commander and friend hadn't moved from her spot at all. "Galatea?" asked Mifune. The blonde female remained still, her gaze fixed towards the now devastated town. Mifune walked back and arrived beside her. The samurai had to hide his shock when he saw Galatea gritting her teeth. "This one is quite strong," whispered Galatea, surprising her partner. "You mean?" said Mifune in shock, unable to believe what he had just heard. Galatea's worried gaze was now fixed towards the devastated town, and her fears came true as another powerful wave of dark chakra was felt across the lands of Am. This one being more fierce and very angry. Conan. He remained still in his position. Eyes fixed on the tattered remains of his shirt that lied in pieces across the wet ground. The surface beneath him was stained crimson as blood oozed from the large cut on his chest. His enemy had also lowered herself a little towards the ground. It was faint, but Naruto saw that even Angel seemed surprised by his survival. To think, she sneaked so many exploding tags into the massive paper storm. And to use my own chakra to trigger their ignition, ingenious, thought Naruto respectfully. He valued skill and cunning. This girl, despite being his enemy, was a worthy foe. Although her sneaky attack on him had caused an undesirable outcome. The barrier protecting the Am ninja had shattered, leaving him completely exposed. Naruto could see his best friend fighting off against several squads of enemies. Many Am troops were lying unconscious on the ground, several others were injured lightly and rendered useless in the fight. Nagato was holding his own. "Two can play this game," thought Naruto viciously, as he started his hand seals. Angel prepared herself when the dangerous boy slammed his hand on the wet ground. Her eyes widened in horror when she saw him smirk. He had fooled her. Goten, Doryuso, Earth Release, Earth Flow Spears. At the last second, Naruto changed the direction of his attack. He relished the silent, horrified look that appeared in the girl's eyes as hundreds of earthen spears rose from the ground, catching nearly every Am ninja in the grasp. Their screams teared across the entire town as showers of blood erupted from their injured bodies. While not enough to kill, their wounds were surely painful. The few that managed to avoid his attack were shivering in horror on seeing their horribly injured comrades. Angel's eyes were slightly wide, unable to hide the anger and pain she felt on seeing the condition of her comrades. Furiously, she glared at the boy, and right then she knew she had made a terrible mistake. Dakuryogen, Dark Illusions. She felt a formidable presence tear through her mental barriers as it latched itself to her anger, pain and shock. Never in her entire life had she felt such a force. Despite her desperate attempts, it destroyed all her barriers and her world exploded in pain. The surviving Am ninja couldn't believe their eyes when their undefeatable Angel screamed. She collapsed on her knees. The pain flowing across her body was making every muscle of hers tremble. Despite knowing this was an illusion, a trick, she couldn't stop herself from screaming in agony. From the corner of her eye, she saw the boy staring at her mercilessly as he tightened the hand controlling the illusion. The pain continued to increase, and so did her screams. Her comrades tried to rescue her, but they failed as the boy's comrade made a quick sweep, knocking him out. Nagato arrived beside Naruto, a relieved look present in his eye as all of their enemies were defeated. Go to the mountains, instructed Naruto, still holding his gaze on the struggling angel of Am. Okay, but don't you think you are better suited? Nagato stopped speaking on seeing the murderous look in those red eyes. You're going to be our clan leader. I've done my part in clearing your way, the rest is up to you, said Naruto coldly, making Nagato flinch. What if they refuse? Asked Nagato hesitantly. As if to answer his question, Naruto clenched his fist tighter, making the angel scream even louder. Nagato had to look away as he saw tears starting to arrive in the girl's eyes from the unbearable pain, yet she refused to surrender. Then they can forget about ever seeing any of these warriors alive, warned Naruto. Understood, replied Nagato curtly, clearly not happy with the method being used, not that his best friend seemed to care. With a sigh, Nagato swiftly started dashing towards the mountains where they had felt Hanzo's presence. A part of him was nervous, not only was his clan's future at stake, but the lives of the innocent Am ninja was also in danger, not to mention his own. Nagato had no doubt that his best friend would not hesitate in fulfilling his threat of killing every one of those Am ninjas, including Angel if things went wrong or if Nagato was harmed. Naruto was a powerful censor, and he would know if something happened to his friend. Nagato could now see as to why Naruto had refused to be a clan leader. He was not suited for that task, his friend was not a diplomat but a soldier who knew how to fight. Still, despite his twisted ways, Nagato was grateful towards his friend. He had put in a lot of effort into making this mission work, and Nagato was going to give it his all to make sure everyone came out of this mess alive. He had no other choice. Mifune had kept a firm grip on Galatea's shoulders, preventing the distressed woman from charging right into the town in order to save her apprentice and their soldiers from that monstrous boy. It was still hard for him to accept that Angel had been defeated. He had underestimated this clan. He had also underestimated this mysterious boy, and now they were paying the price. Let me go, Mifune, hissed Galatea, her silvery eyes burning with anger. If I do so, then you will be violating Hanzo's orders. I can't let you do that, no matter what, said Mifune sadly, earning a fierce glare in return. But Conan, I'm not heartless, Galatea. I know how grave the situation, but think about it tactfully. Our soldiers are now hostages and are at the enemy's mercy. If you recklessly charge in, you will risk not only Conan's life but that of all our soldiers. We have to give the enemy a chance to state the demands, explained Mifune patiently. Are we negotiating with people who attacked our nation? Asked Galatea in disbelief. You know that's not entirely true. I know how you feel, but trust Hanzo. He won't let any harm befall on his own soldiers, especially on Angel, reassured Mifune, and was relieved when Galatea closed her eyes in defeat. If anything happens to her, warned Galatea, then we'll make sure the enemy pays for their crimes. But it won't come to that, Galatea. Have faith, insisted Mifune. Galatea swore a few colorful words as she turned her attention back towards the lone approaching chakra signature that was slowly but surely nearing towards their location. Akeno nervously sat on her summoned vulture. The Uzumaki children silently huddled around her, covering in fear. All of them had seen the devastating battle happening on the ground, but what had terrified them was the moment when that dark chakra had been unleashed. Akeno had to go far as using a genjutsu to keep the terrified children from panicking, but even in the illusion state the children still felt the dark power a little, making them get close to her for comfort. Something which she readily offered. She was worried for her best friends. Every second felt like an eternity to her as she was forced to stay here instead of being by their side. Yet this was the first time she had seen Naruto openly using his cursed power to such an extent. It was dangerous and powerful. However, she had felt the element that drove this power. She had felt his anger, his sadness, his pain, his hurt. Those emotions fueled that dark power, and Akeno knew her friend's life was more than enough to make him feel those emotions naturally. She had also felt the bloodlust, and it scared her. Akeno could only try to imagine what Nagato must be feeling as the boy was fighting beside Naruto. She was at least feeling all these things from a distance and wished Kami to give both her friends the strength to survive and come back to her. She couldn't lost either of them. No matter how much annoying the boys could be at times. Please be okay, prayed Akeno, as a lone tear fell from her silvery eyes. Conan silently watched as her enemy finished trapping her injured comrades into a sealed barrier that was being maintained by one of the Red-Head Boy's clones. He had already bound her in ninja wire and strapped chakra suppression seals all across her body. As difficult it was for her to accept the fact that she was defeated. Her fists clenched tightly as she tried to live with this humiliation. She had failed to protect her comrades, she had failed to defend her nation, she couldn't fulfill her oath as a ninja, couldn't fulfill her promise to him. She fixed her hardened gaze on that boy. There was a nasty, deep cut across his chest which made her silently smirk. At least, she hadn't allowed him an easy victory and made him pay for the pain he had caused to her people. Conan saw how harshly he was panting, the sweat rolling off his forehead, the trembling of his hands. You can't control it, can you? Her question made the boy turn towards her. She couldn't help but be surprised by the indifferent look in his eyes. A few minutes ago he was craving for her blood, and now that the battle was over she was insignificant to him. It stirred something resentful in her chest, hurting her pride of being a capable kunoichi. You fought well, it's a shame you were my opponent, said Naruto sincerely. Conan blinked. She had truly not expected him to say anything, much less appreciate her skills. Maybe there was more to this mysterious boy apart from his dark powers and crazy attitude. Why did you attack my country? Asked Conan sternly. Again, that indifferent stare was her answer. What are your intentions? She continued. This time he gave her an amused smile. You do know that you are currently my prisoner and not the other way around? Asked Naruto flatly. His face mask did an admirable job of hiding his grin as he saw the girl roll her eyes. She was not even a little bit afraid of him despite her fate lying in his hands. He didn't know why he said the next words. I won't kill you or your comrades, said Naruto, surprising both himself as well as the girl. You've done an admirable job so far, retorted Conan sarcastically, and internally grinned when he blushed slightly. I didn't want to, I don't have to explain anything to you, said Naruto in a flustered voice, only to receive an amused smile from the girl. Somehow, he found the gesture quite relaxing. What's your name, boy? Asked Conan, making his eyebrows twitch in annoyance. Shut up, old hag, replied Naruto, and grinned as the girl's eyebrows twitched equally as she gave him a murderous glare. Shaking his head, he tore his gaze away from the frustrating yet intriguing girl. He fixed his gaze over to the mountains and couldn't help but worry about Nagato. His friend was heading into a very dangerous situation, and Naruto felt guilty for being the one who put Nagato in that place. But it was necessary. Tonight, not only his fate but that of his remaining clan would be decided. He didn't even want to imagine the consequences if this mission failed, because unknown to his comrades this was his last option. He was running out of places to take them and keep them safe, not to mention secure a stable future for them to live in. His own plans for revolution depended on the success of this mission. And he had placed all his trust in his best friend. It felt strange to him for doing so as he usually liked doing things on his own. This was the first time he had trusted another soul with such an important task. Naruto could only hope his best friend lived up to all their expectations. I'm counting on you, Nagato, whispered Naruto, unable to hide the worry in his voice. A tired, distressed-looking boy managed to climb the last part of the mountain. He was panting harshly, his uniform torn in many places, blood dripped from the several minor wounds across his body, exhaustion could be clearly seen in his eyes. It was fair to say that Nagato Uzumaki had seen better days. This crazy mission which he had undertaken on the orders of his crazy friend was turning out to the toughest assignment of his life. Starting from continuously traveling for several days without much rest, then fighting a gruesome battle against so many enemies, then running for several kilometers at top speed, followed by climbing a steep mountain and nearly losing his life. And now about to face a man feared across the entire ninja world. I swear I'm gonna kill you, Naruto, mumbled Nagato. Commander. Nagato's head snapped upwards to notice the sight of a middle-aged man and a beautiful woman standing before him. The female was wearing the uniform of a high-ranking ninja, and had addressed the older-looking samurai-like man. This was it. He couldn't fail. His friend's future, his clan's future, all of it depended on him. He won't fail. With great effort, Nagato managed to stand back on his shaky legs. He was nearing towards chakra exhaustion and his vision was partially dark. He had barely managed to take a few steps forward towards the cautious ninjas when his tired legs betrayed him, making him collapse on his knees. He faintly heard the starting of footsteps towards his position, before a harsh voice sent chills down his spine. Let him walk. The boy hasn't arrived before me yet. Nagato's bleary vision instantly cleared the moment his eyes caught the visage of Salamander Hanzo. The tall leader of AM proudly stood before him, and Nagato realized why people feared him. The power he felt from Hanzo was immense and strong, and it made Nagato call forward all his will not to whimper beneath the harsh gaze of this man. His hands were about to start shaking, when he remembered Naruto's words of being proud for being an Uzumaki. Hanzo critically watched as the previously nervous boy shakily stood back on his feet and started limping towards him, using his tanto as a support. The determined look in the boy's eyes made Hanzo respect the boy's courage. I have to walk. I won't cower. Proud Uzumaki never gives up, no matter what, thought Nagato passionately, as the faces of his Uzukage and his deceased clansmen who had offered a valiant fight till the end flashed before his eyes. It was their sacrifice that gave him strength as he arrived before Salamander Hanzo and stood before the man confidently. In this moment, Nagato didn't feel any fear. He knew what he had to do, and nobody would stop him. He watched Hanzo observing him with the same harsh gaze. I'm pleased to finally meet you, Hanzo-sama, said Nagato respectfully. What is your name, boy? Asked Hanzo, in the same strict voice, making Nagato look him straight in the eye. Nagato Uzumaki. He heard the woman gasp in surprise at the mention of his clan's name. Even the samurai-like old man raised his eyebrows a little. However, Hanzo seemed as unaffected as he was before the revelation. So what kind of threat have you come to make after attacking my nation, my soldiers? Asked Hanzo icily. It took everything in Nagato's heart not to faint right there as he felt Hanzo leak a portion of his power along with that monstrous killing intent. Nagato's fists clenched as he steadied himself. He would not mess this up. We don't offer any threat but offer the prospect of an alliance beneficial to both our sides, answered Nagato honestly, and saw Hanzo look at him critically. By holding my soldiers hostage against me. Tell me, boy, have you killed any of them? Asked Hanzo darkly. It is a necessary step to protect my people. We can't be too trusting in these troubled times, yet I give you my word that none of your warriors have been killed or will be killed no matter the outcome of this meeting. We deeply regret creating this situation, but it was unavoidable, answered Nagato frankly. He was surprised when Hanzo barely raised his eyebrows at those words and spoke. So what happens now? Asked Hanzo. If you wish peace and coexistence, then an alliance, and if not, said Nagato carefully, and saw the tall man narrow his gaze dangerously. If not, drawled Hanzo dangerously. Nagato felt his vision start to darken, but he fought it and took a deep breath. Just a little more, just a little more. If not, then something else at the least. Because I didn't come here to offer a one-sided surrender, said Nagato truthfully. Hanzo remained silent even as his commanders watched the interaction with extreme attention. When the flames of war reach AM, there is a way to protect this great nation. I can tell you how to achieve it, if you listen to me with an open mind. Maybe then we can truly work together for a peaceful, new world. Nagato glanced at the three people surrounding him. He was already on his last legs and had done everything in his power to fulfill his mission. The decisive moment arrived as he turned to Hanzo and looked the stoic man right in the eye. What shall it be, Hanzo-sama? That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.